Starlight, I have so many mixed feelings about your redemption right now. Yeah, that's not going to be enough for me. I'm the type of guy that ends up bursting at the seams until I can say what I want to, and a summarization really doesn't cut it. These feelings aren't easy to get rid of, so I suppose it's time to take my first steps into the world of content creation. So, Season 6 is fast approaching, and with it comes several new features. We have a new theme for the season, which I can only hope is a more in-depth theme than the map was in Season 5. From the importance they gave it in the season premiere, I expected it to show up in more episodes than it did. Hopefully the Season 6 theme will be bigger. Then we have a new character, and I'm holding my breath before passing judgment on both the character and the role. And then we have a less new character who will probably be given a new role. And this is something I already have serious concerns about. When I first watched the Season 5 finale, I started thinking, they're going to redeem Starlight Glimmer, aren't they? Given the track record of the show, it seemed like a foregone conclusion. Then, of course, it actually happened, and my reaction was a pretty heavy...
But just imagine all the others that are out there waiting for you if you just give them a chance. How do I know they won't all end the same way? I guess it's up to you to make sure they don't.
Well, okay, yeah, that was my physical reaction, but my mental reaction was more like... Yes, well, anyway, I wasn't happy about it. However, I always find that thinking about things afterwards and reflecting on the episode allows me to form a stronger opinion. These thoughts don't all crowd into your head immediately, they come slowly. Watching the episode again and sometimes learning about others' opinions can play a large role in fine-tuning your own opinion, and this situation was no exception. Yes, I expected her to end up redeemed at the end. Yes, I was still disappointed that it happened, but in hindsight, it's not really the worst villain reformation they've had in the show. Take, for example, the reformation of Sunset Shimmer in Equestria Girls. She was quote-unquote redeemed by being blasted with the friendship rainbow, and then she immediately became apologetic. That was way too rushed, and there was no closure or character development or anything, and I know I'm far from alone with this opinion. Thankfully, there have been some amazingly written redemptions in the show as well. In my opinion, one of the best is that of Diamond Tiara in Crusaders of the Lost Mark. At the beginning of the episode, we only saw the same school bully we had known for 5 seasons, but then we were introduced to her mother, a new character that interacted with Diamond Tiara in a different way than everyone else we had seen so far. And through these interactions, we began to see a new side of her, and it started to become apparent that she probably has more emotional and mental depth than we previously thought. The next sequence involved an amazing song that made the other characters, and dare I say the audience, finally able to empathize with her.
Is it weird that I feel bad for her?
The Cutie Mark Crusaders started treating her differently, and their new attitudes helped us start to interpret DT's overall character in a new light. Finally, in the climax, she faced a moral dilemma that eventually led to her deciding to change her mindset, thus becoming truly redeemed. Starlight's redemption is somewhere between these two extremes. I still felt like it was kind of rushed, but I was pleased to see some actual character development as well. Yeah, her backstory is pretty underwhelming, but you have to admit, it does show that she has an emotional reason to be doing what she's doing, and she's not just being a villain for no reason. When Twilight shows Starlight the effects of her actions, we can start to see something changing inside of her. Then, through a pep talk by the Princess of Friendship, Starlight decides to change her ways, and so she's maybe, quote, redeemed. Of course, the redemption itself isn't the only concern I have. There's a few things that need to happen afterwards in order to solidify it. Firstly, the immediate consequences. Villains and reformed characters need to experience some kind of consequence based on what they've done. I can only think of 2 reformed villains that have had decent consequences for their actions, Nightmare Moon and Discord. Nightmare Moon attempted to cause a never-ending nighttime to fall on Equestria and battled it out with Celestia, causing some structural damage in the process. Celestia then brought out the elements of harmony and used them to banish her sister to the moon for 1,000 years. Later, we found out that after returning, Princess Luna actually created a creature to haunt her dreams every night to punish herself for what she did. There's a few different viewpoints on this, but I'm not going to get into those as they're not the point here. Overall, I'd say that being sent to the moon for a long time was a fitting, if still maybe a little harsh, punishment for attempting to usurp power from her sister. As for Discord, his goal was to create a world of eternal chaos, and we know that he has almost succeeded at this more than once, and it seems like this is almost certainly his final goal and that he doesn't seem to have anything beyond that planned. As his initial punishment, Celestia and Luna used the elements against him and sealed him in stone for over 1,000 years. Then when he broke free and tried again, Twilight and company did the same thing to him for a few more months. Of course, Discord treated all this as though it was nothing more than a minor inconvenience, but it's still a pretty decent punishment for what he did. I should probably mention Sunset Shimmer at this point as an example for the other end of the spectrum. She did get some kind of punishment, but I thought it was kind of lacking. She tried to enslave an entire high school body and actually tore down the front of the school building, and the most we saw was that she had to help rebuild the school. I mean, she got help, right? An entire wall was blown away, but by the next movie it looks completely fine, so she got some help, didn't she? Anyway, this feels kind of lackluster based on what she tried to do. Unfortunately, Starlight Glimmer doesn't seem to have experienced any kind of consequences for her deeds. She said she was prepared for them, but then nothing really happened that she probably deserved. Seriously, she tried to alter the frickin' timeline and rewrite history, and nothing? Nothing at all? The main six are all seen doing activities with her as though what she did never happened. I bet Dr. Hooves would have some strong words about this. I can't say what they would be since I don't watch Doctor Who, but I digress. Seeing what Starlight Glimmer does with the main six in the final scenes brings up the other post-redemption concern I have: character development. We need to see this character grow realistically from the experience, or as realistically as you can get in a children's show about talking ponies. Now, despite what I've said about her earlier, this is the part of Sunset Shimmer's character redemption arc that I think was done phenomenally, and this is probably why she's such a memorable character in the later movies. At the beginning of Rainbow Rocks, you can see that she deeply truly regrets what she did in the first movie, and only the Human Five are comfortable being around her. Everyone else at CHS is still very skeptical of her, like normal people would be in that situation. Throughout the movie, we see her trying to come to terms with her new self, and the other students being unwilling to do the same. Not until the movie's climax, where she sings an epic song alongside the Rainbooms, defeating the Sirens, do the other students finally start becoming more accepting of her. As far as Starlight Glimmer goes, not a whole lot has happened yet to flesh out her character development, though I can understand that this is probably due to limited episode time, at least partially, so I'm hopeful that we'll see something to this degree in Season 6. Maybe she's still adjusting to her new mindset, and has to consciously avoid regressing into her villainous ways. Or maybe Twilight told the townsfolk, or the royal princesses themselves about Starlight's antics, and they're all having a hard time trusting her. I would think about having her return to, our town, and try to regain every pony's trust there, but we already saw that in the season finale, and it was part of a musical montage, so it was pretty rushed too. I suppose if all else fails, I could turn to fanfictions to fulfill these needs, but I'm hoping it won't come to that. The show creators managed to turn Sunset Shimmer into an awesome character, so I don't doubt that they can do the same for Starlight. I'm looking forward to Season 6, and while I'm sure Starlight Glimmer won't ruin it for me, I do hope she'll be treated properly. Until then, this is RizDub signing off. So I'm hopeful that we see... I cannot speak today. So I'm hopeful that we'll see something to this degree in Season 6. Gosh, that's hard to say.